Welcome everyone to History Gone Wilder, part of Have History Will Travel. I'm your host, the Wilder historian, Dr. Lucas Wilder, and last week I covered the beefsteak raid by Confederate General Wade Hampton. This week I covered the attack on New Market Heights, north of the James River, by Union General Benjamin Butler. If you like what I do, please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already, join the Patreon page, and purchase something from one of my online stores. Every little bit helps. Thank you. In mid-August, Union General Winfield Scott Hancock moved across the James River to put pressure on the Richmond trench lines and hopefully allow for the 5th Corps to grab a hold of the Weldon Railroad. Hancock's expedition resulted in the Second Battle of Deep Bottom. The battle didn't accomplish a lot north of the James, but it did divert troops away from the Petersburg lines, like Union General-in-Chief Ulysses S. Grant hoped. Probably the greatest thing to come out of the battle was the death of Confederate Brigadier General John R. Chambliss. Chambliss wasn't a critical element to the Confederacy, but he was killed and the body came into Union lines. When the Union troops went through his personal effects, they found a detailed map of the Richmond and Petersburg defenses. The map was photographed and distributed to the Army commanders and their corps commanders. The Army commander of the James at Bermuda Hundred, Benjamin Butler, studied this map intently from the time he was given it and started to devise a plan for attacking the Confederate position at New Market Heights, the same location Hancock attacked in the Second Battle of Deep Bottom. Butler went to Grant with his idea. After the Battle of the Crater, the black troops in the Union armies were partially or wholly blamed for the failure of the attack following the explosion of the mine. Butler grew concerned over the perception of the black troops in the army. He told Grant, "I want to convince myself whether, when under my own eye, the black troops will fight, and if I can take with the blacks a redoubt that turned Hancock's corps on a former occasion, that will settle the question." Grant mulled over the operation and agreed for Butler to go ahead with the expedition. He stressed that the objective was either to capture Richmond or to get Lee to divert troops away from Petersburg so that Grant could either launch another assault against the Confederate works or extend his line to the Boydton Plank Road. Butler began moving his troops. Some of them were on the south side of the Appomattox River opposing Petersburg. They got to Bermuda Hundred and moved across the landmass to the bridge at Deep Bottom. Butler used both of his corps, the 10th Corps under David Birney and the 18th Corps under Edward Ord, in this operation. By the morning of September 29th, Butler's force was across the river and deployed for battle. In front of them lay New Market Heights, full of trenches and what soldiers referred to as slashings or abattis of slashings. A war correspondent described the obstruction. By this process called slashing, the trees are felled outwards at right angles to the work, narrow belts only being left in the hollows of a stream to cover the retreat of pickets or skirmishers. The enemy therefore is obliged to clamber through a tangled jungle of boughs which face him without being at all sheltered from the withering fire of the defenders of the work. Samuel Duncan's brigade advanced to the abattis and dressed its lines. Miscommunication spread as Duncan's division commander, Charles Payne, expected to attack with this one brigade when he heard Alfred Terry's division making their own assault. Butler came riding up to Duncan's men. He told them to cry, "Remember Fort Pillow," when they attacked, then ordered them forward. It was 5:30 a.m. The black troops ran into the brigade of John Gregg, full of Texans with one Arkansas regiment. Some Confederate cavalry was on the left of the rebel line. The Southern soldiers fired into the blue line as they traversed the abattis and chevaux de frise. The 4th and 6th regiments lead, and as they rushed down the incline, received the concentrated fire of the whole rebel division. The crash of small arms is terrific, a constant roll with the heavier discharges of artillery breaking in like the bass notes of some mighty organ. The air seems full of missiles, hissing above, around, and with deadly intent at each one of us. With shouts and cries, with deep-drawn breath, and gasps and choking heart-throbs, we plunge on and on. Men dropping suddenly or thrown whirling or double up as they were struck. Now we reach the brook and are tearing our way through the brush. What wild music the bullets sing as we force our way along. Keep on, boys. My God, see them reel and stagger, and yet still keep coming on. The dense masses of the rebels, their yellow works, are in plain sight. We hear their shouts and cheers, their pitiless, incessant, withering volleys. Surging up the parapet, our men lead the low, newly made lines, and black and white meet, hand to hand, no longer as master and slave. Some of the Union soldiers made it to the Confederate works, but the casualties began to mount, including Duncan, who went down with 4 wounds. They finally withdrew amid a flurry of musketry and artillery fire. Once Duncan's men made it back to safety, Payne was ordered to send in more troops. Terry on the right was to support the attack, while the brigade of Alonzo Draper advanced from Payne's lines. Before the black troops of Draper stepped off, Lieutenant Colonel Giles Shurtleff of the 5th USCT addressed his men, saying, "If you are brave soldiers, the stigma denying you full and equal rights of citizenship shall be swept away, and your race forever rescued from the cruel prejudice and oppression which have been upon you from the foundation of the government." Draper's men advanced with the 2nd USCT on their left and part of Joseph Abbott's brigade on their right. Some of the men began to halt amid the shower of lead and iron fired by the rebels. Draper's troops began to get behind any barrier, began to fire instead of moving forward to the rebel line. The attack in depth was falling apart as Draper tried unsuccessfully to prise men out of their positions. As the 22nd got closer to the enemy line, John Holman, the 22nd's brigade commander, ordered in 2 more regiments, the 1st and 37th USCT. One officer recalled, "I had given up the hope of returning alive from this very jaws of death, and thought that it was only left for me to die facing the enemy. The utter hopelessness of succeeding pervaded the mind of everyone when they had time to think. I seen the companies one by one commencing on the left to rise to their feet, run a few yards, and then, as if recollecting themselves, walk deliberately from the field. I seen a man of my own company get up, step out a dozen yards in front of the line, and coolly fire his piece at the enemy, then slowly follow the company from the ground. I seen a sergeant who had received 3 different wounds crying because the battalion would not go further. I seen men tenderly and slowly carrying their wounded captain off that field of death, and also their wounded comrades, from where to delay was almost madness. The Union brigades were pinned down, but rallied in a courageous assault that broke the Confederate line, scattering the rebel units and driving them back from New Market Heights. The rebels would launch a counter-assault, but not be able to retake the line. The USCT gained a victory at a dear cost. They lost 3,372 total, 391 killed, 2,317 wounded, and 649 missing or captured. The Confederate losses are harder to calculate. Some historians estimate the rebels lost 2,000 soldiers in total, 250 killed, 1,250 wounded, and about 500 missing and captured. Despite the heavy losses for the Army of the James, Butler believed that the black troops who stormed New Market Heights redeemed themselves from the horrible allegations thrown at them because of the Battle of the Crater. Butler's troops latched on to New Market Heights and savored the new ground they acquired, which threatened the Confederate capital.